Hi guys! I think I showed you that the top was all finished, but one thing I noticed was that under this armpit, the right armpit, it was a little bit clunky, like there was a lot of fabric there. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm just going to open that up and try to trim some of this fabric down a little bit. And I'm going to use my zigzag scissors to do that, just so it's not as, you know, I've got a wad of something underneath my armpit. I have gone ahead and taken the skirt pieces and I've done the gathering up at the top, because you'll notice it's really wide. So the skirt is really wide. That's because these are going to be gathered, and we have the gather stitches across the front and the back. And then we have our 5/8 seam allowance done on each side, and I am going to trim that down. And then on the left side here, I left it open from where it marked on the pattern, the big circle on the pattern, because this is going to be part of where our zipper goes. Wanted to show you the next step in the process, not only because it's the next step in the process, but also because it was very confusing to me. In the instructions, it's step number 35 under skirt. Essentially what you need to do is you need to take your top half and turn it inside out. So you're going to have the bodice, and you want the side that you've pressed the 5/8 seam allowance, that you've pressed that back. This is the inside of the dress. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that and you're just going to fold it back. So we're just actually dealing with the bodice outside of the dress and the skirt itself. And the skirt, you want it to be wrong side out. Make sure that you've got the sides together that are open, because those are the sides that your zipper is going to be on. And then from here, you're going to match up your center notches. Go ahead and do that. I'm trying to think of how this is going to run through the sewing machine, and it's going to run through this way. So I want to make sure to put my pins on this side. Because remember, we've still got to gather this, so our waist is going to be a lot bigger than the bodice. So again, I want to start by matching up my notches, and then also I want to match up my center seam. And I'm just going to kind of flip this open so I can actually see what those seams look like. Because remember, this is the outside of our garment, and if those center seams are off, you're going to be able to see it. So we want to make sure we're getting the best match possible there. I mean, it's off by, you know, a millimeter. You probably won't notice, because honestly, if it's off a little bit, people aren't going to notice, but you will. I mean, every time I look at something I've sewn, I see all the things I could have done better, and other people don't see that. So I think that's just part of the creative process. Wouldn't you agree? So I'm going to go ahead and begin gathering this up, and just adjust my gathers, and yeah, then we're going to go from there. I may need to take these pins out to do my gathers, but I am going to keep the center pin in, definitely. The ones that's matching up our seams, because when I do the gathers, I'm actually going to pull from each side, because I don't want to have too many gathers on the left and not enough on the right. So if I kind of gather from each center seam, that should work out well. Alright, so this big mound of fabric, I know it looks so confusing right now, but it actually makes sense to me, so that's good, is the skirt pinned to the bodice and gathered. And like I said, I did work with pinning that center seam and then gathering from each side. That seemed to work really well for me. The instructions basically at this point say to do a baste stitch, which is essentially getting your needle and thread and going through and just doing really large stitches through the two pieces of fabric, basically to help lock them in place. Well, for the most part, when I attach two pieces, I pin a lot, just because, like I said, you know, I'm still in that beginning stages, and I want to make sure that my pieces don't slip apart from each other. But when I'm doing anything with a gather, I pin like there's nobody's business, and I cannot recommend that more highly. I mean, look at, there's that, and there's so many there because that's where all those gathers are. So pin like you've never pinned before. So I'm actually going to skip doing the baste stitch. You know, whether you do or not, I mean, that's really up to you. I feel pretty comfortable not doing it because, like I said, really that stitch is just to keep the two pieces together. The other thing that I did do as well is on the seam, I believe that's the center seam, no, on the side seam, what is wrong with me? On the side seam that does not have the zipper on it, I also trimmed that seam down. The reason why I did not do it on the zipper side is because when we put in our zipper, we're going to be laying that zipper on that seam allowance, and I've met myself, and you never know what's going to happen with me. So I figure better play it safe than rather, you know, better play it safe and just leave this full seam allowance. After I get the zipper in, I'll trim that down using my zigzag scissors, because again, I want to limit the amount of fraying that occurs on this. Alright, so I'm going to start stitching. I'm so excited. I mean, literally at this point, after we stitch the skirt onto the bodice, all we have left is the zipper and the hem. Crazy, right? What kind of stitch am I doing on this? I'm doing a 5/8 seam allowance stitch, and then I'm going to do a 1/4 of an inch stitch as well in on the seam allowance. And actually our gathering stitch, that's exactly how that's stitched. So I'm just going to stitch right over that. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. So that's it for today's So Vintage. As always, to show your support of A Vintage Vanity and the So Vintage series, go ahead and click the thumbs up. It's a quick way to let me know you like what's going on here. Also, if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe, and that will let you know when new videos are posted here on my channel. And I love hearing from you guys, so please let me know thoughts, comments, suggestions, opinions, all in the comment section below. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.